I just got back from 10 days in Italy, and I'm so proud to say I stayed in budget. As you probably know, I realized long ago that traveling matters to me. It's something that I proudly and consistently save for. To make the most of any trip, I plan the financials before, during, and after. Since I'm fresh off a vacation and I stayed in budget, I wanted to share with you my best practices for staying in budget while on vacation. There's nothing like getting home from a vacation and not feeling the effects of overspending. Welcome to the City Girl Savings Podcast. I'm Rhea Reeves, founder and finance coach of City Girl Savings. I turned my life around with budgeting many years ago, and now I'm on a mission to help others do the same. I fully believe that you can enjoy your life on a budget. And this weekly show will focus on the intersection of money and the city girl lifestyle. Join me every week along with some special guests as I share my experiences, advice, and guidance on navigating life and money as an experience-loving millennial. Now, I'll be getting to my best practices for staying in budget while on vacation in just a sec, but I want to share this first. It took a lot of trial and error to get to a place where I wasn't constantly overspending while on vacation or taking vacations I truly couldn't afford. So please don't expect perfection. Even to this day, there are trips where I go over budget. So just know that it's not always going to be perfect, but if you plan accordingly, it will make a huge difference. Now, for me, in the beginning, when I was traveling, I couldn't afford it. I was in my early 20s, in college, almost done with college, right after college, not making a lot of money in the working world. And I vividly remember a girls' trip to Las Vegas. I lived in LA at the time, so LA to Las Vegas was about a 4-hour drive. And this was for my 22nd birthday. So I had just graduated college. I got a job at a major bank right after college and literally started maybe a week later. My birthday always falls around Labor Day, so I always get a day off. So me and a couple girlfriends did a road trip to Vegas. We didn't stay on the Strip because we couldn't afford it. We stayed at some low budget hotel, like way on the other end of Vegas. And we kept it light the whole time. We went places where we could get free drinks or get in for free. We were traveling very low budget. I mean, we still went, but I really couldn't afford it. And when I got back home from that trip, I was scrambling to pay my rent. So just know there was a point in my life where I couldn't even take a vacation because I couldn't afford it, even though I did it anyways. But as I mentioned, even to this day, when I take trips, sometimes I still go over budget, but I don't beat myself up for it. I just make it up in other ways. So please remember, be gracious with yourself and give it a real shot to stay in budget during vacation. As long as you gave it your all, at least you can feel good about that. So now let's talk about how to stay in budget while you're on a vacation. I think the first thing that is the most important thing to keep in mind is before you go, you have to make sure you've actually set a realistic budget for the trip. You have to go into the vacation or the trip knowing what your plan is. So if you are struggling with that aspect of budgeting, listen to episode 30, Vacation Planning on a Budget, where I walk through my entire process for budgeting and planning for a vacation before you go. So to plan as much in advance as possible, I think it's important to ask yourself a few questions. What is realistic for the area that you are going to? Is it an expensive area? Is it a relatively affordable area? And when I say is it expensive or is it affordable, I mean, are you going to be spending a lot on food? Are you going to be spending a lot on activities? Is it a really high tourist area and therefore you're going to end up spending more? These are good questions to ask yourself so that you can set a realistic budget. Also ask yourself if they have a different currency. So if you are traveling out of the United States, Do you have to exchange your dollar for that country's currency? And if so, is that currency strong or weak against the dollar? So, for example, when I was younger, I took a trip to Mexico with my family, and I remember 10 pesos equaling $1. Now, this was a long time ago. I don't know if that's still the exchange rate, but obviously, a dollar will get you a lot further in Mexico because 10 pesos equals $1. So it's important to know what the currency is for the place you're going and if that will help or hurt you. Another question to ask is, will you have nice dinners or brunches? Will you be limiting your food to just local cuisine, food trucks, keeping it super light? This will help you plan in advance. And if you do plan on going to nice dinners or brunches or just restaurants in general, book your reservations in advance. Take a look at the menu and see how much will you be spending on that meal. As you ask yourself these questions, use the information to help you formulate your daily spending allotment while you're on the trip. And try to have this total number saved before you go. Otherwise, give yourself the number and try to stick to that spending limit and have a plan to pay for it when you get back. Another way to plan in advance is to do your research of the area before you go. So just make sure you're mindful of any tourist traps. Make sure you know where you can get local food or souvenirs if that's what you want. Check in on any must-see places. Are there any natural things that you can experience while you're there? So hiking or the beach, things that don't cost a lot of money, but you still get the experience of being there while you're on vacation. Now, once you've decided on your total budget for the trip and your daily spending allotment, I recommend that you have a dedicated card and bank account for the trip. So if you are traveling internationally, make sure you use a credit card that has no foreign transaction fees. I failed to do this one time and was hit with a lot of fees swiping my credit card in a different country because I didn't realize that that credit card came with foreign transaction fees. And if you're traveling in the United States, try using a credit card that comes with perks. Now, let me say this. Only use your credit cards if you have a zero balance. The goal is not to accumulate more debt going on this vacation, only to come home and try to figure it out at that point. So if you are using a credit card while you're traveling, make sure it has a zero balance or that you can pay the balance in full when you return. But if you are traveling within the US, have a credit card that you use and get rewards from, and then have a dedicated bank account for the trip. So me personally, I have a travel savings at my major bank, and anytime I travel and need to use that money, I move that money from my travel savings into my checking account and either use the debit card associated with my checking account or use my credit card and make a payment from that checking account. So you do want to have a credit card and a bank account that's dedicated to your trip. Does the holiday season sneak up on you and your bank account every year? Do you vow to avoid overspending during the holidays but never follow through? Good news, the Frugal Fall Savings Challenge is back for its 6th year in a row. If you always seem to use credit or tap into your no-touch savings for the holidays, then maybe you just need to plan ahead this year. The time to start saving and budgeting for the holidays is now. In this 8-week savings challenge, we'll be saving different amounts each week with a goal of $500 saved right before Black Friday. Be better with your holiday shopping budget and join the free challenge today. Save your spot at citygirlsavings.com/frugal and get ready because we start soon. While you're on your trip, I do recommend running a quick reconcile of your spending each day during the trip. So whether this is at the start of the day or at the end of the day, I want you running through your spending activity. And if you see that you are over or under, have a game plan for the remaining days of your trip. I'm a morning person, and so when I wake up, I like to just quickly check my bank account activity, see how things are going. If I'm using my credit card, just making sure that the balance isn't getting too crazy. And then I keep that information in my head as I move forward throughout the vacation. Now, if you're finding that you're already over budget, it's time to take things down a notch. So, how can you course correct? Maybe you don't need any more fancy restaurants, or maybe you don't need any more souvenirs. I'm not saying to skimp while you're on vacation, just make decisions that won't leave you feeling worse when you get home. One area that can really add up when you're on vacation is food and drinks. So, what helps me is I plan for one big meal per day and I keep the remaining meals or snacks light or quick and easy. So, another thing I do is pick up snacks at a convenience store for my hotel or Airbnb. Having snacks handy just makes sure I'm not super starving when I'm ready to go out and get food and then end up overspending and overindulging on food. And the same goes with drinks. Can you pick up a bottle of alcohol at the convenience store and make a drink in your room before you go out? That way you can avoid spending a lot of money at the bar. Now, if you're going on a cruise, this is where they get you. When you pay for your cruise, you are not paying for alcohol. That is a completely separate purchase via a pass, so like a booze pass. And it's a couple $100, but with this booze pass, you get drinks all day, every day. So if you're going in with the notion of, you know what, I'm not going to buy this booze pass, but I'll limit my drinks to 1 to 2 a day. If you stick to that, it can work in your favor. But, the more drinks you have, the more drinks you want to have, and it can quickly add up. So if you are going on a cruise, just make sure you really consider whether you'll be drinking or not, and if that booze pass will be good for you. Another way to stay in budget while you're on vacation is to opt for exploration days instead of activity days. So if you're going somewhere for 6 days, maybe you have 3 days of activities and 3 days of exploration. I know for me, when I travel, I do have activities scheduled on some days and then nothing scheduled on other days. This allows time for me to explore, but also gives me the ability to be fluid and flexible, which is always nice on vacation. It also helps you stay in budget. If you pay for excursions and activities every single day, it will add up quickly. Now, one trap you don't want to fall into is failing to research, and then on the days that you have open for exploring because you have nothing planned, you don't do anything. Let's not do that. We want to make the most of our vacation. We just don't want to have to spend a lot of money to do so. So make sure you do your research, especially for those days where you don't have anything specific planned. That way you can still take advantage of your time in this new place. I touched on this a little bit, but I want to hone in on this point. Take advantage of the elements available to you while you're on vacation. So if you're going to a beachy place, take advantage of the beach. Be at the beach every day. If you are going to a place with mountains, make sure you're hiking every day, every other day if you're not too sore. So if you're going somewhere tropical, make sure you plan to spend the entire day at the beach. This can be very cost effective. Just get a cooler, fill it with food and ice and drinks to avoid overspending while you're there. And maybe make sure you budget in money for an umbrella. That way the blaring sun doesn't send you home too early. If you're going somewhere scenic or with mountains, plan hiking and trail days. Make sure you bring snacks and water in a backpack so that you're not forced to overspend on food at restaurants. My final piece of advice for staying in budget while on vacation is to make sure your bills that are due during your vacation are paid before you go or they're set up on auto pay. And I'm speaking from experience here. A couple months ago, I went to New York City, and while I was in New York City, my credit card bill was due. And I had looked at this credit card bill a couple weeks when the bill actually came out and said, oh, I have time. I'll pay it in time for the due date. Well, the due date was while I was on vacation and I completely forgot about it. So I missed a credit card payment and I was charged a late fee. Thankfully, I got it waived because that had never happened before, but That's not the point. The point is to make sure that everything is taken care of so you can truly relax while you're on vacation. So before you go, do a quick run through of your normal bills that you think will come out when you're gone, and then just make sure they're paid early or they're on auto pay. And when you do your daily reconciliation while you're on vacation, just make sure everything is going according to plan. Now, there are a few things for you to do when you get back from vacation. When you return, I want you to make note of your progress. What can help you for your next trip? Did you over or underestimate any specific spending area? Do you need to plan more activities ahead of time for the next trip? Maybe you do need some exploration days. Just take a quick note of what happened and what you can do in the future to improve. And if you are coming back and you find that you are over budget, how can you pay off any overages? What can you do to cover those extra costs? Where can you cut back in your normal budget to help you pay for those overspending areas? Remember, at the end of the day, we are striving for progress, not perfection. It may take a handful of trips to get in a good groove here, but it's possible. I'm speaking from experience. If I can do it, you can do it. Thank you so much for tuning into City Girl Savings today. I hope you feel empowered and inspired to master your money as you make your way to your dream life. Make sure you subscribe so you're the first to know when a new episode comes out. I truly value your thoughts and feedback, so please leave a review and let me know how this podcast has impacted you. Can't wait to chat soon and make it a great day.